The federal courthouse was a monument to justice and bureaucracy, all marble columns and metal detectors. I sat in the gallery, watching Tessa's arraignment like a movie I'd seen too many times. She wore an orange jumpsuit that clashed with her auburn hair. No makeup, no jewelry, no trace of the polished executive who'd charmed donors at charity galas. Just a woman who'd lost everything in the span of 72 hours. Her lawyer was expensive but outmatched. The prosecution had 47 pieces of evidence, including video footage of Tessa joking about redirecting the Poor People Fund, and financial records showing her investment in Logan's steroid operation. Your Honor, the prosecutor said, the defendant systematically embezzled over $200,000 from a charitable organization. Money intended for disadvantaged youth was instead used to finance drug distribution and an extramarital affair. The judge was not impressed. Bail is set at $500,000. Tessa's face crumpled. She didn't have that kind of money. Her accounts had been frozen, her assets seized, pending investigation. I left the courthouse and drove to Allie's school. She was waiting by the main entrance, backpack slung over her shoulder, looking older than her 16 years. How did it go? She asked when she got in the car. She's not getting out anytime soon. Good. We drove home in silence. The house felt different now, emptier but also cleaner, like an infection had been removed. That evening, I cooked dinner while Allie did homework at the kitchen table. A normal domestic routine in an increasingly abnormal situation. Dad, she said, without looking up from her calculus book. Yeah, did you know about Mom? I mean, before you found out about Logan, I thought about how to answer. I knew something was wrong. She'd been distant for months, secretive about work, defensive about everything, but you didn't know she was stealing. No, that surprised me. Allie nodded and went back to her homework. A few minutes later, do you think she ever loved us? Like really loved us? The question hit deeper than I expected. I think she loved the idea of USAID's The Perfect Family, the successful marriage, the beautiful daughter, but I don't think she loved us as people, because people aren't projects you can manage. Exactly, my phone buzzed. Text from an unknown number. Meeting tomorrow. Final cleanup, be ready. I deleted the message and finished cooking. Dinner. The next morning brought news that Logan Price had been found dead in his jail cell. Apparent suicide by hanging, using torn bedsheets. No note, no explanation. I felt nothing when I heard. No satisfaction, no regret, just a sense of completion, like watching the last piece of a demolished building fall to the ground. Allie took the news differently. He's really gone, she asked. Yeah, I'm glad, she said quietly. Is that wrong? No, it's honest. That afternoon, Rowena Clark called with an update. Greg Wyatt's awake, talking to federal prosecutors about plea arrangements. He's giving them everything: financial records, supplier networks, customer lists. What about Tessa? She's looking at 15 to 20 years minimum. The prosecution is treating this as organized crime now, thanks to her involvement in the steroid operation. And Miles, psychiatric hold for another week, then federal custody. He's cooperating fully, but his fraud charges are still pending. So, it's over. Almost. There's one more thing. She paused, and I could hear papers shuffling. The life insurance policy Tessa took out on USI, tried to cash it in yesterday. Claimed you died in a construction accident. The words hit like a physical blow. What? She filed a death claim from jail, using forged documentation. Obviously it didn't work, but it shows how desperate she's become. She's still trying to have me killed. She's trying to profit from your death, real or imaginary. The insurance company is cooperating with federal investigators now. I hung up and sat in my car, thinking about Tessa in her jail cell, still scheming, still believing she could manipulate her way out of the consequences. 6 months later, I bought a house in the mountains. 40 acres of pine forest, a steel gate at the end of a winding driveway, solar panels, and a generator for complete self-sufficiency. Allie adapted quickly. She enrolled in the local high school, made new friends, and seemed to thrive away from the city's toxic memories. We kept the downtown house as a rental property, but we never went back. Tessa was sentenced to 18 years in federal prison. No parole for the first 12. The judge called her crimes a betrayal of public trust on multiple levels. Miles got 8 years. Greg Wyatt got 12. The steroid distribution network collapsed completely. I thought it was over. I was wrong. The call came on a Tuesday evening in October. Ally was at a friend's house, working on a science project. I was reading in my study when the phone rang. Mr. Hartley, this is Warden Johnson at FCIW. I'm calling about your wife. My blood went cold. What about her? She's been placed in solitary confinement after attacking another inmate. The victim required 17 stitches. Why are you calling me? Because she's requesting a visit. Says she has information about threats against your safety. I almost laughed. Even from prison, Tessa was still trying to manipulate the situation. I'm not interested in seeing her. Mr. Hartley, I should mention that she's been making very specific claims about ongoing criminal activities, names, dates, financial accounts. The FBI is taking her seriously. What kind of claims? I can't discuss details over the phone, but if there's any validity to what she's saying, you and your daughter could be in danger. I agreed to the visit, more out of curiosity than concern. What could Tessa possibly know that would matter now? FCI Dublin was a low-security facility in Northern California, surrounded by razor wire and guard towers. The visiting room was sterile and depressing, designed to make human connection as difficult as possible. Tessa looked terrible. Prison had aged her 5 years in 18 months. Gray roots showed in her hair, deep lines framed her eyes, and her pallor came from fluorescent lighting and institutional food. She was shackled at the wrists and ankles. Hello, Brandon. Tessa, we sat across from each other at a plastic table, a guard watching from 10 feet away. Thank you for coming. What, do you want to warn you? Logan had partners you don't know about, people who blame you for destroying their operation. Logan's dead. His connections aren't. They've been asking questions about you, about Ally, making threats. I studied her face, looking for signs of deception. There were none. But then again, Tessa had always been an excellent liar. What kind of threats? The kind that involve making you pay for the money they lost when the steroid network collapsed. How much money? Over $3 million. Logan was moving more product than anyone realized. And you know this how? Tessa leaned forward, her shackles clinking against the table. Because I kept records of everything. Account numbers, transaction dates, contact information. It's all in a safety deposit box in Denver. Why would you help me? Because I want to make a deal. I give you the information, you help me get my sentence reduced. There it was, the real reason for this meeting. Tessa was still trying to negotiate her way out of consequences. I can't help you with your sentence. You could testify on my behalf. Character witness, mitigating circumstances, that sort of thing. After everything you did, I made mistakes, Brandon, but I never wanted anyone to get hurt. The lie came so easily to her. No hesitation, no acknowledgement of the insurance policy or the murder plot she'd been planning. You tried to have me killed. That was Logan's idea. He said it was the only way to be together. Another lie. I'd seen the emails, heard the recorded conversations. The murder plot had been entirely Tessa's creation. Where's the safety deposit box? First National Bank, downtown Denver. Box 1247. What's in it? Everything. Financial records, contact lists, security camera footage from the clubs. Enough evidence to bring down everyone Logan was working with. I stood up to leave. Tessa called after me. Brandon, wait, there's something else. What? Been getting phone calls at school, at her friend's house. Someone's been asking questions about her schedule, her activities. The guard was watching us more closely now, sensing the tension in our conversation. How do you know that? Because I still have contacts, people who care about my family. Allie's not your family anymore. Tessa's face crumpled. For a moment, she looked genuinely devastated. She's my daughter. She's the daughter of a convicted felon who tried to murder her father. I never wanted it to go that far, but it did. And now you're in prison, and Allie's better off without you. I walked toward the exit. Tessa called after me. Brandon, the box number is 1247. You need that information. I didn't look back. The drive home took 6 hours. I spent the time thinking about Tessa's claims, about whether there was any truth to her warnings about ongoing threats. I called Allie when I got home. Hey Dad, how was the trip? Fine. Has anyone been calling you? Anyone you don't know? No. Why? Just checking. I'll be home in an hour. Okay, love you. Love you, too. I hung up and made another call to a private investigator in Denver, someone Rowena Clark had recommended. I need you to check something for me. 2 days later, The investigator confirmed that safety deposit box 1247 existed and was registered under Tessa's maiden name. But accessing it would require a court order or Tessa's written authorization. I decided the risk wasn't worth it, whatever threats Logan's former associates might pose. I could handle them without Tessa's help. I was wrong about that, too. The attack came 3 weeks later. 2 men in a pickup truck followed Ally home from school. They forced her car off the road, dragged her out, and demanded to know where I kept my financial records. Ally fought back, screaming and clawing until other drivers stopped to help. The attackers fled, but not before one of them said, "Tell your father we're not done." I called the FBI immediately. They took Ali's statement, collected evidence from her car, and assigned a protective detail to our house. "Mr. Hartley," Agent Chen said, "we think your ex-wife was telling the truth about the ongoing threats. These people blame you for destroying their income stream. What do you recommend?" "Protective custody until we can arrest the remaining members of the organization." "For how long?" "Could be months, maybe longer." I looked at Ally, sitting on our couch with bandages on her arms where she'd been grabbed. She looked scared but determined. "Dad, I don't want to live in hiding. We might not have a choice." That night, I made a decision I'd been avoiding for months. I called FCI Dublin. "I want to speak with Tessa Hartley. She's in solitary confinement. Sir, no calls allowed. Tell her I'll authorize access to the safety deposit box in exchange for complete information about Logan's associates." The warden called back an hour later. "She agrees to your terms." The written authorization was faxed to Denver the next morning. By evening, I had copies of everything in Tessa's safety deposit box, financial records, showing a network of 15 steroid distributors across 6 states, contact information for suppliers in Mexico and Eastern Europe, security footage from Greg Wyatt's club showing faces and license plates. But the most valuable document was a handwritten list of names and addresses Logan's customer base, including several professional athletes, bodybuilders, and gym owners. I turned everything over to the FBI. Within 2 weeks, they'd arrested 11 people connected to the steroid network. The threats against Ally stopped. 6 months later, Tessa called me at home. "Brandon, it's me. How did you get phone privileges?" "Good behavior and cooperation with federal prosecutors." "What do you want?" "To apologize. For everything." I said nothing. "I know you'll never forgive me," she continued, "but I need you to know that I loved you, both of you. I just lost my way. You tried to have me murdered, Tessa. I was desperate, scared, making terrible decisions. You were planning my death for 6 months. That's not desperation, that's premeditation. Brandon, please. I just want a chance to explain." I hung up. The next call came from her lawyer. "Mr. Hartley, Jennifer Walsh, representing Tessa Hartley. My client is requesting a reduction in sentence based on her cooperation with federal authorities." "What does that have to do with me?" "Character testimony from family members carries significant weight with the parole board. She's not getting a character reference from me. Sir, with respect, your ex-wife provided information that prevented further violence against your family. That has to count for something. What it counts for is her finally doing the right thing once, after years of doing everything wrong. Will you at least consider it?" "No." I hung up again. A year passed. Ally graduated high school with honors and enrolled at Colorado State University. She chose engineering, like her father. "I want to build things," she said, "not tear them down." I was proud of her resilience, her ability to move forward despite everything that had happened. Then, on a Friday evening in September, Tessa showed up at my gate. She was barefoot, wearing a faded prison uniform, her hair matted and unwashed. She looked like she'd been walking for days. "Please," she said through the intercom. "I just need to talk to you." "How did you get out?" "Medical release. I'm dying. Brandon, liver cancer. 6 months to live." I watched her, through the security camera. She was crying, makeup running down her face in dark streams. "I don't have anywhere else to go." "You have family in Oregon." "They won't see me." "No one will see me." She collapsed against the gate, sliding down until she was sitting in the dirt. "I just want to say goodbye to Ally, too. Tell her I'm sorry. Ally's at college. Then just to you. I just want to tell you I'm sorry for everything." I stood in my house, finger hovering over the gate control button. After everything she'd done, all the lies, betrayal, and attempted murder, she was still trying to manipulate me. But she was also dying. And despite everything, We'd shared 18 years of marriage and raised a daughter together. I pressed the button. The steel gate slowly rose. Tessa looked up, hope flickering in her eyes. Then I pressed the button again. The gate slammed shut. She stared at me through the camera, her face a mask of devastation and disbelief. I turned and walked back into my house, leaving her sitting in the dirt outside my gate. The next morning, she was gone. I never saw her again.